The room was quiet, but the tension was loud. Sung Ho Park stared at the communication screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. Another message from the Galactic Concordance flickered before him, reinforcing the most ridiculous ban in the history of space exploration. No human music allowed. Outside the window of the Earth Interstellar Communication Bureau, the city of Seoul hummed with life. Skyscrapers touched the sky, holographic advertisements danced between buildings, and people moved about their daily lives. But up there, in the vast darkness of space, something strange was happening. Sung Ho leaned back in his chair and reviewed the intercepted communication for the 100th time. The Melodians, a species that looked like a cross between underwater jellyfish and walking wind chimes, had some very specific complaints about human music. Their official report was both hilarious and terrifying. Musical threat level: extreme, the document read. According to the Melodians, human music was not just sound. It was a weapon, a psychological attack that could destroy their entire civilization. They claimed that when humans created music, something dangerous happened. The sounds didn't just enter their ears, they invaded their minds. The Harmonic Collective, a group of alien species that believed they understood sound better than anyone in the universe, had made it crystal clear: Earth was forbidden from broadcasting, sharing, or even humming any form of musical expression across controlled space. Sung Ho chuckled. Humans, forbidden from making music. It was like telling a river not to flow. He pulled up the detailed reports. The Melodians described human music as emotional chaos. A rock song could make them shake. A heavy metal track could cause their neural networks to collapse. Jazz made them dizzy. Classical music sent them into panic attacks. And don't even get them started on electronic dance music. The most recent report included a scientific explanation that read more like a horror story. Apparently, human music carried emotional frequencies that the Melodians had never encountered. When a human singer screamed, it wasn't just a sound. It was a complex transmission of raw feeling that could literally break alien communication systems. One Melodian researcher wrote, "Human music is not sound. It is weaponized emotion." Sung Ho understood why most of his colleagues found this hilarious. Humanity had been making music for thousands of years. It was how people expressed joy, sadness, anger, and love. How could sound be a weapon? But the Galactic Concordance had spoken. No human music would be allowed in controlled space. Any violation would result in immediate communication blockade and potential military action. The young analyst looked at the communication screen. Something inside him knew this wasn't the end. Humans had always found ways around impossible rules. Music was more than just sound to them. It was freedom. It was rebellion. Little did the Melodians know, somewhere in the Communication Bureau, a plan was already forming. A plan that would show these alien species exactly what human music could do. The basement was dark, except for the glow of computer screens and strange electronic equipment. Jae-Yun Kim adjusted her headphones and listened carefully. Around her, a group of musicians, engineers, and tech experts huddled close, their faces serious and excited. "They think they can stop us from making music," Jae-Yun said, her fingers dancing across a complex mixing board. "We're going to prove them wrong." The room was hidden deep beneath Seoul, far from the official Earth Interstellar Communication Bureau. This was the Sonic Rebellion Project's secret headquarters. They were not just musicians. They were rebels with a very loud mission. Hyun-Woo Lee, the team's quantum acoustic engineer, pulled up a holographic display showing alien communication networks. His fingers moved quickly, highlighting weak points in the Melodians' sound defense systems. "Music is information," Hyun-Woo explained to the team. "And information can always find a way through." Their plan was simple but crazy. They would create a form of music so powerful, so intense, that it would break through alien communication barriers. Not just any music, something that captured the raw emotional power of human expression. Death metal was their weapon of choice. Most people didn't understand death metal. It wasn't just noise. It was a complex language of human emotion. Anger, pain, rebellion, hope, all compressed into intense sound waves. The Melodians had no idea what was coming. Jae-yun had been a death metal musician before joining the Communication Bureau. She knew how music could change people. Now she wanted to show aliens how music could change entire civilizations. "We need something more than just sound," she told the team. "We need a sonic weapon that carries human emotion." Hyunwoo had been working on special subwoofers. These weren't ordinary speakers. They were quantum acoustic devices capable of generating sound waves that could penetrate alien communication systems. Each speaker was like a musical missile, loaded with complex emotional signatures. The team worked day and night. They analyzed alien communication patterns. They studied how different sound frequencies affected alien neural networks. Every piece of information was a weapon. Outside, the world continued as normal. Most people had no idea that a group of musicians and engineers were preparing to fight a war with sound. A war that would be fought through speakers, not guns. "The Melodians think they understand sound," Jae-yun said, adjusting a massive speaker, "but they have no idea what human music can do." The speakers were works of art. Complex quantum circuits were hidden inside traditional speaker designs. They looked normal from the outside, but inside, they were technological marvels capable of transmitting not just sound, but pure human emotion. Hyunwoo's computer screens showed complex mathematical equations. Sound waves danced across the displays. Each wave was carefully designed to carry maximum emotional impact. "We're not just making music," he told Jae-yun. "We're creating a language that the aliens have never heard before." The team knew the risks. If they were caught, they could face serious punishment from both human authorities and the Galactic Concordance. But they didn't care. This was about proving something important. Human creativity could not be stopped. As midnight approached, the basement filled with the first test sounds. Deep, powerful bass notes that seemed to come from somewhere between human emotion and pure quantum physics. The Sonic Rebellion project was ready to make some noise. The lab was a mess of wires, speakers, and blinking computer screens. Hyunwoo Lee stood in the center, looking like a mad scientist with his messy hair and intense eyes. Around him, massive speakers waited. They weren't normal speakers. These were weapons. "Sound is just vibration," Hyunwoo told Jae-yun. "But vibration can be a language." He pulled up a holographic display showing complex wave patterns. Each wave looked like a strange, beautiful dance. To most people, it would look like random lines. But to Hyunwoo, these were the building blocks of something revolutionary. Quantum acoustic engineering wasn't a normal job. Most people didn't even know it existed. But Hyunwoo had spent years studying how sound could do more than just make noise. Sound could carry information. Sound could change things. The team had discovered something incredible. Human music, especially death metal, contained emotional frequencies that aliens couldn't understand. It was like trying to explain color to someone who had never seen light. Their first prototype looked like a normal speaker. But inside, it was anything but normal. Quantum circuits were carefully hidden between traditional speaker components. Each circuit was designed to do something impossible: translate human emotion into a language of sound. Jae-yun watched as Hyunwoo ran another test. The speaker hummed. Then it roared. The sound wasn't just loud. It was alive. It carried anger, hope, rebellion, all the things that made humans unique. "The Melodians think sound is just waves," Hyunwoo explained. "But we know sound is memory. Sound is feeling." Their team had studied alien communication for months. The Melodians believed they could control sound. They thought they understood how information moved through space. They were wrong. Human music was different. It wasn't just notes and rhythms. It was a complete emotional language. A 3-minute rock song could tell a story more complex than most alien communication could in hours. The speakers were quantum marvels. Each one had special components that could read emotional frequencies, amplify human feelings, break through alien communication barriers, transmit complex emotional information. Hyunwoo had a wall covered in designs, mathematical equations mixed with music notes. Computer code danced next to speaker blueprints. To anyone else, it would look like chaos. To him, it was a perfect plan. "We're not just making speakers," he told the team. "We're creating a new way of talking to the universe." The team worked in shifts. Some were musicians, some were engineers, some were mathematicians, but they all believed in one thing: human creativity could not be stopped. Jae-yun looked at the latest speaker design. It was beautiful. From the outside, it looked like a normal piece of audio equipment, but inside, it was a complex machine ready to fight a war with sound. "The Melodians banned our music," she said quietly. "Now we'll show them why." Hyunwoo connected the speaker to a computer. Lines of code scrolled across the screen. Mathematical waves danced. The speaker waited, ready to unleash something the universe had never heard before. This was more than technology. This was a weapon of human creativity, and it was about to change everything. The communication room was silent. Sung-ho Park sat perfectly still, his fingers hovering over the standard diplomatic communication panel. Nobody was watching, but everything was about to change. A small green light blinked. The standard communication channel with the Melodian Central Network was open. This was a routine check, something that happened every week. Nobody expected anything different. Jae-yun's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Ready?" Sung-ho took a deep breath. Activated. Hyunwoo had spent months preparing for this moment. The speaker looked simple. It was black, sleek, nothing special. But inside, it was a weapon more powerful than any missile. As Sung-ho maintained the standard communication protocol, Jae-yun and Hyunwoo were miles away, fingers ready on a special trigger. The first notes of a death metal track began to build. These weren't just any musical notes. Each sound wave was carefully designed. Mathematical equations turned into music. Emotion transformed into pure sonic energy. The first guitar riff hit like a thunderbolt. In that exact moment, something extraordinary happened. Alien communication systems across multiple star systems began to break down. It wasn't a crash. It was an invasion. The sound carried more than music. It carried pure human emotion. Anger, hope, rebellion, pain, joy, all compressed into sound waves that the Melodians had never experienced before. Melodian communication nodes started to malfunction. Screens flickered. Data streams turned into chaos. It was like someone had injected pure human feeling into their perfect controlled system. On dozens of alien space stations, technicians watched in horror. Their carefully constructed communication networks were falling apart. Not because of a computer virus, not because of a weapon, but because of music. Hyunwoo watched the data streams. Each breakdown was a victory. The speakers weren't just playing music. They were speaking a language the aliens couldn't understand. "It's working," he whispered. Jae-yun grinned. The death metal track reached its peak. The sound was incredible, complex, powerful. Each note was a mathematical weapon designed to break through alien communication barriers. Sung-ho kept the standard communication channel open. To any outside observer, he looked completely normal, just another diplomatic worker doing a routine job. Nobody would know he was part of something revolutionary. The Melodian communication centers were in complete chaos. Their systems couldn't process the emotional complexity of human music. It was like trying to understand a hurricane by counting raindrops. Screens across alien space stations turned red. Error messages appeared. Communication lines collapsed. And through it all, the music played. This wasn't just a musical attack. This was a declaration. Humans would not be silenced. Their creativity would not be controlled. Hyunwoo's computer tracked the destruction. Each fallen communication node was a victory. Each broken system was a message. Human emotion cannot be stopped. Jae-yun switched to the next track. More music, more emotion, more chaos. In that moment, everything changed. The universe would never be the same again. Sun-ho allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had just spoken, and the aliens were finally listening. The Galactic Communication Center looked like a nightmare. Alien officials ran between broken screens. Alarm systems screamed. Nobody understood what had happened. "This is impossible," a Melodian official shouted, his tentacle-like arms waving wildly. Diplomatic channels exploded with panic. Humans had done something no species had ever done before. They had turned music into a weapon that could destroy communication networks across entire star systems. Sun-ho Park watched the chaos from his small office. He knew exactly what had happened, but he played dumb. His face was calm. His hands were steady. Inside, he was smiling. The Harmonic Collective demanded answers. They sent urgent messages to Earth's diplomatic team. Why? How? What kind of weapon was this? But it wasn't a weapon. It was music. Jae-yun and Hyunwoo's team had discovered something amazing. Human music carried emotional frequencies that aliens couldn't understand. It was like trying to explain color to someone who had only seen black and white. Alien scientists worked frantically to understand what had happened. They studied the communication breakdown. They analyzed every single sound wave, but they couldn't crack the code. The death metal track had done more than break communication systems. It had sent a message: humans would not be controlled. This is a violation of galactic communication protocols. The lead Melodian diplomat screamed during an emergency meeting. His voice shook. His communication device flickered. Earth's diplomatic team remained calm. They asked simple questions. What protocol? Which law? The Melodians had banned human music. They had tried to silence an entire planet's culture. Now they were paying the price. Hyunwoo continued to analyze the data. Each breakdown was a scientific miracle. The speakers weren't just playing music. They were speaking a language of pure emotion that aliens couldn't understand. More reports came in. Communication nodes across different alien systems were failing. Not because of a computer virus, not because of a traditional weapon, but because of music. Rock, metal, jazz. Each genre became a potential weapon. The Harmonic Collective tried to fight back. They sent jamming signals. They attempted to block human communication channels. But every attempt failed. Human creativity was faster, smarter, more powerful. Jae-yun looked at the latest test results. "We're not just playing music," she told Hyunwoo. "We're teaching them a new way of communication." Sun-ho managed the diplomatic responses. To any outside observer, he looked completely normal. Just another worker doing his job. Nobody would know he was part of something revolutionary. The alien systems continued to break down. Communication lines collapsed. Error messages appeared everywhere. And through it all, the music played. This wasn't just an attack. This was a declaration of human creativity. A statement that said, "You cannot control our culture. You cannot silence our voice." Alien leaders held emergency meetings. They argued. They panicked. They tried to understand how music could become so powerful. Hyunwoo's computer tracked every communication breakdown. Each fallen system was a victory, proof that human emotion was a force more powerful than any technology. The universe would never be the same again. Humans had found a way to speak that no one could stop. And they were just getting started. The news spread quickly. Humans had discovered a way to fight back against alien music restrictions. Music was no longer just entertainment. It was a weapon, a language, a form of resistance. Government buildings around the world buzzed with excitement. Military leaders, communication experts, and musicians gathered in secret rooms. They had a new mission: turn human music into a global defense strategy. Sun-ho Park stood in a top-secret meeting room. Screens showed communication breakdowns across alien networks. Military officials looked confused. Musicians looked proud. Music is our new diplomatic tool, one government leader explained. We're not just making noise, we're making a statement. Music production facilities transformed overnight. Recording studios became research centers. Musicians became something like secret agents. Every genre became a potential communication weapon. Death metal bands got government funding. Jazz musicians received special research grants. Electronic music producers became communication specialists. The line between art and national defense disappeared. Jae-yun and Hyunwoo became national heroes. Nobody knew exactly what they had done, but everyone knew they had changed everything. Their team expanded. More engineers, more musicians, more creative minds. Schools started teaching special classes, how to create music that could break alien communication systems, how to understand the science of sound, how to turn emotion into a weapon. The Harmonic Collective tried to fight back. They sent warnings. They threatened sanctions, but humans had discovered something powerful. Creativity could not be stopped. Military experts analyzed the music weapons. Each sound wave was a complex message. Each beat carried information. Music was no longer just about entertainment. It was about communication. We're speaking a language they can't understand, Hyunwoo told a group of young researchers. And that's our greatest weapon. Governments around the world started special music research programs. They hired the best musicians, the most creative engineers, people who could turn sound into something more than just noise. Rock bands became national security assets. Classical musicians were treated like communication experts. Every musical genre became a potential tool for international communication. The global response was quick and powerful. Humans had found a way to fight back against alien restrictions. Music was freedom. Music was rebellion. Music was hope. Schools added new classes: sound engineering, quantum acoustic communication, musical resistance techniques. Students learned how music could change the world. Jae-yun continued developing more advanced speakers. Each design was more complex, more powerful, more able to carry human emotion across space. Sun-ho managed diplomatic communications. To the outside world, everything looked normal. But behind the scenes, a musical revolution was happening. The Melodians had no idea what was coming. They thought they could control human communication. They were wrong. Musicians became the new diplomats. Engineers became the new warriors. Creativity became the most powerful weapon. "We will not be silenced" became the global motto, printed on t-shirts, painted on walls, sung in concerts, whispered in secret meetings. The world had changed. Music was no longer just sound. It was a language, a weapon, a way of saying, "We are human. We are creative. We will not be controlled." And this was just the beginning. The alien response was desperate. They tried everything to stop human music, but nothing worked. Melodian communication experts worked day and night. They created complex blocking systems. They developed advanced sound filters. They tried to build walls against human musical frequencies. Each attempt failed spectacularly. Hyunwoo tracked their efforts on massive computer screens. Lines of alien code scrolled faster than human eyes could follow. But underneath the complicated technology, the aliens were scared. "They don't understand emotion," he told Jae-yun. "That's their weakness." The Melodians discovered something terrifying. Human music wasn't just sound. It was a living thing. Each song carried complex emotional information that their technology couldn't process. A simple rock song could crash their communication networks. A jazz improvisation could break their most advanced defense systems. A death metal track could send their entire communication infrastructure into chaos. Jae-yun's team continued developing more advanced sound technologies. Each new speaker was like a musical weapon. Complex quantum circuits hidden inside normal-looking equipment. "We're not just making music," she explained to her team. "We're creating a new language." The aliens tried diplomatic pressure. They sent angry messages to Earth's government. They demanded explanations. They threatened consequences. Earth's diplomatic team remained calm. They asked simple questions. What law did they break? Music was culture. Music was communication. How could that be a weapon? Silmhopark managed these communications. His face was always calm. His responses were always professional. But inside, he was smiling. The Melodians discovered that human emotions were more complex than their entire communication technology. Anger, joy, sadness, hope. These were weapons they couldn't understand. A 5-minute death metal track could carry more emotional information than months of alien communication. Each beat was a message. Each guitar riff was a statement of human creativity. Research centers around the world worked on new musical technologies. Musicians became communication specialists. Engineers studied how sound could carry emotion. The Melodians tried to create counter-frequencies. They developed complex sound-blocking technologies. They wrote complicated mathematical equations to stop human music. Nothing worked. Each attempt to block human music only revealed more about alien communication weaknesses. They had a perfect, controlled system. Humans had something more powerful: creativity. Hyunwoo's computer tracked every alien communication attempt. Each failure was a victory for humanity. Proof that emotion was more powerful than technology. They think in straight lines, he told his team. We think in waves. Schools started teaching special classes, how to turn emotion into sound, how to create musical frequencies that could break alien communication systems. The world watched as music became the most powerful diplomatic tool in human history. Jae-yun continued developing more advanced speakers. Each design was more complex, more able to carry human emotion across space. The Melodians had no idea what was coming. They thought they could control human communication. They were wrong. Music was freedom. Music was rebellion. Music was hope. And humanity was just getting started. The final confrontation was coming. Everyone could feel it. Alien spaceships gathered at the edge of human communication space. Thousands of complex machines waited. Their weapons were advanced. Their technology was perfect. They thought they were ready. They were wrong. Hyunwoo stood in the central command room. Massive screens showed alien fleet movements. His fingers moved quickly across quantum communication panels. Behind him, Jae-yun prepared the most advanced musical weapon humanity had ever created. This is more than a weapon, Hyunwoo told his team. This is a message. The quantum entangled sound system was ready. It could broadcast simultaneously across multiple star systems. Each speaker was a complex machine. Each circuit was designed to do something impossible: translate pure human emotion into sound waves that could break alien communication forever. Silmhopark managed the diplomatic channels. His face was calm. His hands were steady. But inside, he knew everything was about to change. The Harmonic Collective believed they could stop human music. They had prepared their most advanced communication blocking technologies. They had created complex sound barriers. They had mathematical equations designed to stop any musical transmission. None of it would work. Jae-yun's latest design was beautiful. From the outside, it looked like a normal speaker, but inside, it was a quantum marvel. Mathematical equations turned into musical frequencies. Emotion transformed into pure sonic energy. We're not just playing music, she told her team. We're speaking a language they can't understand. Alien leaders held emergency meetings. They argued. They panicked. They tried to understand how humans could turn music into a weapon. But music was more than a weapon. It was communication. It was emotion. It was freedom. The first test would happen soon. Humanity would show the universe something incredible. Music was not just sound. Music was a living language more powerful than any technology. Hyunwoo's computer tracked alien communication systems. Each line of code was a potential battleground. Each frequency was a weapon. Ready? Jae-yun asked. Hyunwoo nodded. The speakers powered up. Complex quantum circuits hummed. Mathematical waves prepared to become sound. Emotion prepared to become a message. This was more than a musical attack. This was a declaration of human creativity. A statement that said, "You cannot control our culture. You cannot silence our voice." Sung Ho watched the diplomatic channels. To any outside observer, he looked completely normal. Just another worker doing his job. Nobody would know he was part of something revolutionary. The Melodians had no idea what was coming. They thought they could stop human music. They thought they could control human communication. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jia Yun's fingers hovered over the activation switch. Hyun Woo's computers tracked every possible communication channel. Sung Ho prepared diplomatic responses. The universe was about to hear humanity's true voice, and it was going to be loud. The moment arrived in perfect silence. Then the music began. It wasn't just sound. It was a weapon, a language, a message that would change everything. Jae Yun's quantum speakers unleashed something the universe had never heard before. Death metal mixed with complex quantum frequencies. Emotional waves crashed through alien communication systems like a tsunami of pure human creativity. Alien communication networks collapsed instantly. Thousands of alien ships went dark. Their perfect technology stopped working. Their advanced communication systems became nothing more than silent metal boxes floating in space. Hyunwoo watched the screens. Each fallen communication node was a victory. Proof the human emotion was more powerful than any technology. "We are not just making noise," he whispered. "We are speaking." The music carried more than sound. It carried hope, anger, joy, rebellion. Every human emotion compressed into sound waves that could break through alien defenses. Sung Ho Park managed the diplomatic channels. His response was simple and calm. "We told you, you cannot stop music." The Harmonic Collective had no answer. Their most advanced technologies were useless against human creativity. They had tried to silence an entire planet's culture. Now they were paying the price. Alien leaders watched in horror. Their communication systems died. Their perfect, controlled networks fell apart, all because of music. A 5-minute death metal track had done what no weapon could do. It had spoken a language of pure human emotion that no alien technology could understand. Jae Yun's team celebrated quietly. They knew this was more than a victory. This was a message to the entire universe. Humans would not be controlled. The quantum speakers continued broadcasting. Each sound wave was a complex message. Each beat carried information about human creativity, about freedom, about the power of emotion. Alien ships drifted silently, their technologies destroyed by something they could not understand. Music had become a weapon more powerful than any missile. "We are not just making noise," Jae Yun told her team. "We are making history." Diplomatic channels around the world watched in amazement. Humans had found a way to fight back against alien restrictions, not with guns, not with traditional weapons, but with music. Hyunwoo's computers tracked the total communication breakdown. Each fallen system was a victory for human creativity. Proof that emotion was more powerful than technology. The Melodians had no defense. Their perfect, controlled communication systems had been destroyed by something they could not understand: human emotion. Sung Ho prepared the official response. It was simple and clear. Humans would not be silenced. Music was culture. Music was communication. Music was freedom. Days passed. Alien communication remained offline. The universe watched and waited. Humanity had spoken, and the message was clear. Do not try to control our music. Do not try to silence our voice. We are human. We are creative. And we will not be stopped. The speakers fell silent, but the message remained. The universe would never be the same again.